Oh, hi, doggy. That's a fucking cat. The Room is one of those movies that is truly difficult to explain. Anytime I mention it, I sort of tell people you just have to experience it yourself to truly understand it. The thing about it is, The Room becomes this very human and universal experience once you do watch it. A person instantly understands what the movie and the cult following behind it is really about. James Franco not only captures that experience through The Disaster Artist, but he also gives the viewer a wonderful behind the scenes look on how and why The Room was made. One of the most outstanding things about The Disaster Artist is James Franco's performance as Tommy Wiseau. He absolutely kills it, and I couldn't imagine anyone else attempting to play him. Apparently, Tommy Wiseau wanted Johnny Depp to play him, which I could also have seen, but that doesn't matter. He gets all the bizarre quirks that make absolutely no sense about Mr. Wiseau. We don't know where Wiseau is from, where his bottomless pit of money comes from to waste $6 million apparently on The Room. And why the man is this kind of weirdo. Franco kills it with every single little quirk, especially when he interacts with Dave Franco, who plays Greg Sestero, and that's obviously James Franco's brother as well. And he's Greg Sestero who plays Mark in The Room. The movie actually starts off in 1998 with Greg Sestero meeting Tommy Wiseau in an acting class in San Francisco, and Sestero is sort of enamored by Wiseau's ambitious acting. It's very strange, and they form a kind of this strange friendship between this kid who's 19, Greg Sestero, if I'm correct, and Tommy Wiseau, who is insert old age here because we don't know for sure. And they form this kind of strange friendship, and that leads them to LA, where Wiseau can somehow afford another apartment in two very expensive places to live in the United States. But eventually, after years of acting failures, Wiseau writes his own film and leads it into a hectic production cycle where he controls the set with an iron fist, and that movie becomes The Room. The film does a fantastic job of humanizing Wiseau and Sestero. Wiseau is sort of portrayed as this ass, to be honest with you, to put it frankly, which seems to be the case in real life. He's kind of an ass. But at the same time, you can't help but feel bad for a man who sort of desperately wants to live out his dreams, no matter what. In one particular scene, Wiseau sees a big Hollywood producer who's played by Judd Apatow quite wonderfully in a restaurant, and he desperately asks for a chance by this producer, and this desperation is endearing, even if it's really pathetic, especially in the scene. It's hard to follow a man who so badly wants his dreams, even if they seem so utterly unobtainable. Sestero, on the other hand, comes across as an incredibly empathetic man who's willing to help Wiseau, even when he really doesn't deserve it. To the point that Sestero turns down a small role on a TV show to keep himself in The Room instead. If anything, learning the backstory of The Room through The Disaster Artist really gives us an inside look at the enduring friendship of Sestero and Wiseau. One of the only issues with the film that I have is the lack of other characters' stories being expanded upon. We don't particularly learn about the actor who played Denny, who in the film is played by Josh Hutcherson quite well, or we don't learn about the actor who played Chris R., who is played by Zac Efron, also quite well. Didn't even realize it was him at first. Even though I knew he was in the movie and he played Chris R., I couldn't quite remember at the time when I was watching it immediately. But it would have been interesting to get kind of the small blurbs of their backstories, but but I also kind of understand the film needs to sort of lock in on the friendship between Sestero and Wiseau as its focus, especially because it's only about an hour and a half. I don't think they really had time to delve into the other stories, and I think the movie was kind of a perfect length. I would like to have seen those stories, but I also don't feel like we're missing out on too much by not having them. Frankly, the fact that Disaster Artist exists sort of just baffles me. I never thought in a million years someone would make a movie about the making of The Room, and then actually make a movie that's a whole lot more. There's truly an interesting story in here that you don't even need to see The Room to enjoy The Disaster Artist, which is crazy. It holds up as its own sort of endearing, interesting, twisted, and insane story about the best worst movie. Overall, I'd probably give The Disaster Artist about an 8 out of 10. It was quite entertaining to watch. It's very funny, but there's a whole lot more going on there that shows there's a lot of heart to this friendship between these two people. And I definitely think it is a necessary film from 2017 to delve into and watch. Uh, just because for the fact that it even exists on its, that alone makes it worth watching. Whether it was even going to be good or not, the fact that this movie exists is incredible.